Hi, my tiny little ferals, and welcome to episode 6 of Quantifiably Bitchy. We have officially reached the 6th month point of this podcast. Hooray! I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for listening as always. This episode is a really big episode, and I'm very excited about it. We are talking about season 1, episode 6, Entree. Also, look at my nails. My nail girl is amazing. Shout out to Grace. I am obviously super ready for fall. You can see my Mads Mikkelsen inspired sweater. I'll put the inspo here. This is our first Chilton episode, and I'm so fucking excited to talk to you guys about it. Like, I have been waiting very patiently for this moment, and it's a really good episode just like in general. We have Freddie Lowndes action. We have Will being a little brat. Like, we finally get Abel Gideon. Like, it's really good, and I'm very excited to talk about it. Some housekeeping items. Recently, my TikTok was hacked. I did get it back. I'm still working on changing my username and everything back with TikTok support, but I do have it back. I made a backup account, Quantifiably Bitchy 2. If you'd like to follow that, I will still be posting on my original TikTok. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I am trying to grow my following here. This is a passion project just for fun, but if you like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe. I am super excited to talk about episode 6 today. Make sure you follow me on TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube. I am Quantifiably Bitchy in all 3 places. Oh, also, I did a little craft recently, and I wanted to show you guys first. So look what I made for Halloween. I need to figure out how to attach it to my face, but come on. Shit is literally so cute. Anyway. So yes, let's jump right in. Quantifiably Bitchy episode 6. We're going to talk about Entree. The title of the episode is really important here because up until this point, we have been kind of learning the characters, understanding them, watching them solve kind of unrelated crime scenes. Now we're getting into the meat of the episode, if you will, right? The Entree. It's our first Chilton episode. Yay! I'm so excited. So just for some background knowledge, Chilton is probably one of my favorite characters. I hate to pick a favorite because there are so many good ones, but Chilton is one of my favorites, and I think it's because I love the actor, Raul Esparza. He's the reason I started watching this show, alongside of just like really liking like the Hannibal movies growing up. I just love the way he approaches a character, and I was like, okay, I'll finally give this a watch. Like, he's in it, that's cool. I was surprised that he was playing Chilton because, like, who likes Chilton? And the character seemed to be pretty well liked. So I went into that being like, okay, like, and I just think he's the funniest character in the show. I think the writing is spectacular for him. I think all of his details are really good, and I can't wait to get into them with you guys today to start, because there are so many good details in this episode. Like, one thing I would love for you guys to keep in mind throughout the series is something that Esparza has said in a couple interviews, and I will post it here so you guys can hear it, is that if you can make people laugh, that you can make them cry.
Because if you can be funny, you can also make people cry.
Right, and it's something that I have kind of adapted into my own writing and like tried it out, because this man has made me laugh and then like deeply cry on like multiple occasions, to the point where I'm just like, I'm pissed about it now because it's just too effective. So keep that in mind while you watch him throughout the series. It's not something that's going to come to fruition until later, but enjoy the laughing while you have it. So yes, let's go ahead and get started on season 1, episode 6, Entree. Opening shot. It is a close-up of it's Dr. Abel Gideon on the floor, right? But we don't know necessarily who that is yet. The cool thing about this shot is we are given inside of the BHSCI, the Baltimore State Hospital for the Criminally Insane. So many words. Okay. We're inside the Baltimore State Hospital for the Criminally Insane, and it looks exactly like it does in The Silence of the Lambs. So we're like immediately transported back to this recognition of this very iconic prison area where we meet Hannibal Lecter for the first time on screen. And Dr. Gideon appears to be unconscious on the ground. We're not given very much context here. Music is ominous. And this is different from the introductions we've seen up until this point, because usually they're in Will's perspective. Usually we don't know if we are in reality or if we are in someone's like hallucination, vision, dream, etc., etc. This is a little different because it's just like something that's actually happening and it's not being presented to us as any like other way. So he's being transported on a gurney to the medical unit inside of the facility. You can see this nurse actively working on him and he appears to be unconscious. All right, and then we see the nurse turns around and Dr. Gideon is awake. Okay, I love this shot when we have Will and Jack pulling up to the Baltimore hospital to go see Chilton and Dr. Gideon because it's our first introduction to Chilton without us even knowing it. He has this tiny little red sports car parked right out front. Like, it's such a good shot for so many reasons. Like this tiny, like cunty little bitchy sports car. It's like almost girly, very showy. Like it's that type of car that you would see somebody driving down the road and it's like an old man and you're like midlife crisis. Got it. Overly flashy and just being like parked right out front of the hospital is also really funny because it's like, usually there's like a designated spot for them to park. And he's like, nope, I don't want to have to walk anywhere. Right up front in my little bitchy ass car. Already we are going into this hilarious. So Jack and Will pull up to the mental facility. I don't want to have to keep saying the whole name. Baltimore Hospital for the Criminally Insane, whatever. They pull up to go see Chilton and Gideon because Freddie Lowndes is allegedly saying that, oh, the Chesapeake Ripper's already been caught. He's already in custody. He's Abel Gideon and y'all missed it. So Jack and Will are going to verify that. Will does not want to step foot in here because he's like, I acknowledge the fact that I'm crazy and maybe if I go in here, I might not come out. Okay. Immediately we meet Dr. Chilton. This shot is fucking insane. It's so good. I just noticed it. Like I watched this episode right when I was getting ready just to prep for this. I noticed it today. There are two stag heads in the back of this shot. I will put it here. We're introduced to Chilton for the first time. He has this bitchy little beard, this perfectly coiffed hair, this perfectly like bitchy, tailored, pointy, fitted suit. But in this shot, it's like from his shoulders up and he's talking and there's two busts of stag heads in the back. They look identical right next to each other. They're blurry and they're in that background. So you can't see them clearly, but they are distinct. And I think this represents a lot of things, okay? First and foremost, and most hilariously, it represents Will and Hannibal, right? They are coming to fuck this man's shit up for life, forever. This is a life-changing moment for Dr. Chilton because his shit is never gonna be the same because of these two assholes. So I think it represents Hannibal and Will looming in the background about to just like wreck his shit. I also think it is a direct nod at Hannibal's office. Hannibal has the one stag. Chilton has two, okay? So Chilton he's so much showier, full of hot air, shoulder pads to the gods, but there's, you know, his shape is all stuffing, right? It's all fake, it's all for show. The fact that Hannibal, who is legitimately intelligent and insightful and intuitive, has the one stag and Chilton has to have two because he thinks bigger is better and more is more, you know? Genius. Fucking genius. Chilton immediately calls out Will. There is just like diva on diva crime immediately between Will and Chilton. They are not getting along. He's like, oh, you're not a doctor or an FBI agent. That's a visitor's badge. So why should I give a shit what you think? Meanwhile, he's the shortest one in the shot. Again, Art. Oh, he's a teacher and he says it with such disdain and like the kind of person that thinks teaching is like a lesser profession. It's like a filthy read. They're the same people that are rude to the waitstaff, you know? Every detail in this office is hilarious. All of the books, all of the art, that fucking leather chair that's like beveled and really fancy. Chilton, he has his little tie clip. He reminds me of, if you remember in Game of Thrones, when Theon Greyjoy goes back to his father on the Iron Islands and he's like wearing his fancy clothes that he got from the Starks and his dad is like, oh, did you pay the iron price or, you know, the blood price. And he's like, oh, I paid the iron price, right? Like, I bought it with money. I didn't, you know, earn it. Chilton's the same way. All of this is for show. All of this is to seem more legitimate, but he didn't earn any of it. It's just, it's staged. And The Office is a beautiful manifestation of who this man is. This little affected Southern accent that Chilton has, like, that is so hilarious. It just feels fake, you know? Like, it would be one thing if he really had a Southern accent, but, like, it just feels fake. It feels like Madonna and her fake British accent, right? Love that detail. The fucking bitchy beard, like, it cracks me up. His chair is almost like a throne. It's fucking huge. And then Chilton being like, I feel responsible for this, but it's with an air of fakeness. Like, it's just like, oh, I want to talk about myself. I want to self-insert. Like, I want to make this about me. And the fact that Will immediately dislikes him kind of makes you kind of discount him as well, because you're like, I think he's an idiot. He is. He's right sometimes, though. And then Chilton is like, oh, people talk about you in psychiatric circles because you're crazy. They're fascinated by how fucking wacky you are. Immediately so bitchy. Quantifiably so. A unique cocktail of personality disorders and neuroses that make you a highly skilled profiler. It's such a filthy, rude ass read. And I really do love these moments where Chilton, I don't want to say is right, because I don't know if this is necessarily true, but he is hitting Will where it hurts, where he's obviously insecure. Will desperately does not want to be crazy, and he doesn't want to be analyzed. So Will is especially not happy in this moment. And Jack's like, he's not here to be analyzed. And Chilton is like, maybe he should be. And immediately Chilton tries to be like, I need to analyze him. Chilton is a collector. He loves to collect crazy people. And he does not hesitate at the chance to try and collect Will here. And it just shows you how shitty he is at reading other people, because Will, this could not be a worse proposal for Will. Like, we're not going to trade interviews with, so you can analyze me and then I can analyze Gideon. Like, never going to happen. And he's like, not today. Maybe you'll make a special trip to me. And then there's this shot of Jack and Chilton walking down the hall, Will right in between them, but in the back. And you can see the difference here in the tailoring of Jack's suit versus Chilton's in a way that is very pleasing to the eye. Chilton has these pointy shoulder pads, this teeny tiny fitted waist, the gold pen, which is a nice little nod to Silence of the Lambs, because Hannibal eventually steals that pen and is able to escape his prison, his like makeshift prison, when they're trying to find the senator's daughter, and he escapes this way. So Chilton and his little gold fancy pen, his little showy pen, is the reason why Hannibal gets free in the movies. So I like that little nod to the original. But you see Jack's suit, it's a little less form-fitting. There are no shoulder pads, or they are minimal. It is not as fitted or tailored or just like positively cunty. Great comparison. And then Will's in the back, not even wearing a suit jacket. It's also to note that Gideon mutilated the corpses in a way that is very similar to that of the Ripper. Even the way Chilton moves around this hospital is really funny. It's like very silken, very snake-like, very overly confident, which is funny for a man that is in the next shot obviously looking very scared. And I know there in interviews, as far as I've talked about how this particular set was incredibly scary with the dead nurse, because it looks like this is shot basically like in a metal warehousey looking place. Love this shot with Jack and Will looking at this new victim of the nurse, and Chilton in the background hovering, almost judging. And then we have the shot of the nurse missing her eyes, and you can see it absolutely haunting Will, which is a lot of fun, because remember, Will doesn't like eyes. They freak him out. They're hard for him to read. They're very distracting, and hers are gone. So I do think that is kind of a direct nod to that original line that we are given about Will and his eyes. It's also just very scary. After that smash cut, it is Will on the gurney in Dr. Gideon's place, being rushed to the hospital or to the medical area of the prison. It's safe to assume at this point that like Will is reliving his experience as Dr. Gideon. This is one of the sluttiest, unintentionally sluttiest scenes, I think, in the whole show. One of them. There are a few. Will with his like shirt open, chest bare, and then we see him removing the fork tine out of the pocket in his palm. Disgusting. He's like really sweaty, which is also just like very hot. And the thing about this scene is it's incredibly scary. So we have like hughdancy looking crazy and then just fucking this woman up. It like makes me deeply uncomfortable, but he's also incredibly fine. The shirt open, like, did it have to be that way? Oh, the popping her eyes out. I struggle with gore like this. This is not really my favorite thing. It is incredibly scary though. Again, with this show, I think that we are laughing a lot and then suddenly hit with like a very gruesome scene in the face to be reminded that we are dealing with cannibals and murderers and psychopaths and just like really dark content. So we watch Will reenact this killing of the nurse. It's very graphic. It's very gory. He is practically crying when he comes to, and the shot is very blue. We are back in the safe world of reality. His shirt's blue. Like, we do get this nice blue tone. Again, the color blue is really important throughout this season for sure. This is a great episode too because we are introduced to the story of Miriam Lass. We find out that the Ripper allegedly killed 2 years ago and Gideon's been gone for that long. We are then shot into the backstory of Miriam Lass through the eyes of Jack. It's done in kind of that film noir, black and white retelling, so we know it's the past and not a hallucination, vision, or dream. Miriam Lass is very much supposed to be a Clarice type of character. The way this scene is shot is very similar to the one in The Silence of the Lambs. It's, Fuller did not have the rights to her at this point or even now. So the Miriam Lass character has a lot of functions. She kind of takes that Clarice role. She is just an intern. Jack is recruiting her to help because he's kind of desperate, and she's smart. The way she's styled is very neutral. I don't even want to say masculine, but no makeup, hair pulled back, and just kind of a ponytail, minimal jewelry. It's very, very, very reminiscent of Clarice. She definitely has masculine and feminine qualities about her. Her and Jack discuss the fact that the Ripper is not necessarily a sociopath. He has qualities of a sociopath. And this is an important conversation because it's a question we have to ask about Hannibal, and I know Fuller has talked about it, and Mickelson as well. Hannibal is not your traditional sociopath, and Miriam Lass recognizes this almost immediately because he has feelings. He might not feel guilt or remorse about certain things, but he does about other things, and he definitely can feel emotion. He is just expressing it in his own way. He'll be hard to catch because he is not going to have a criminal background, and he's not going to be a loner necessarily, and we know those things to be true about Hannibal. He's very settled in Baltimore. And Miriam asks Jack, why are you picking me? And he is more or less like, you're qualified, but also we need bodies. So I think that's important later when we talk about his guilt regarding Miriam Lass. And then we are back at the Baltimore State Hospital. And, the first thing Chilton talks about is he hates that Gideon's getting a lot of mail because he feels like he's just his, postmaster, basically, right? He is his personal assistant. And Chilton is very, very obsessed with how he appears, and he wants to be important. He said, I don't feel like his keeper, I feel like his secretary. And it's like, why should you feel like his keeper? Because he, collects these crazy people. So Dr. Bloom and Will go to interview Gideon separately, and they're asking Chilton for permission. And they're like, we're not really sure that he is the Ripper. And Chilton is like, yeah, well, I'm sure. Dr. Bloom is like, his other crimes are impulsive. Like, we know that the Ripper is not impulsive. And he just doesn't, he can't accept the fact that he might be wrong. He is not into Dr. Bloom and Dr. Graham, or Will Graham, coming in and saying that he's wrong. I also like this scene with Chilton because he has his glasses on and he keeps taking them on and off. And something that Chilton does throughout the show is have these props, whether it be glasses, a cane, whatever, the accent that he doesn't really need and uses as he feels. Because everything's an accessory with him. And it's an interesting first introduction to Chilton because it is his state hospital. He's in charge. He can appear as the powerful one, and it's one of the few scenarios where we kind of see him like that. Later on, this very much changes. Also noting Dr. Bloom's outfit here. It's so plain. Her makeup is so plain. It's so interesting to see this like change in her as the seasons go, and this like very simple, basic version of Dr. Bloom. Dr. Bloom gets this like Clarice walking through the prison shot. When she does it in Silence of the Lambs, she passes by a couple prisoners before she gets to Lecter. Dr. Bloom gets this scene and it looks the same, and she meets Dr. Gideon again. I love the way the interview scene is shot with Dr. Bloom and Will, because it's each of their interviews cut up and mixed in with each other. So it'll be Dr. Bloom talking, and then Dr. Gideon, and then Will, and then Gideon, and then Dr. Bloom and Gideon. So we're not sure exactly who is asking all of the questions, what order they're being asked in. It's an interesting way to pass time and an interesting way for us to ingest this interview, because it's a little chaotic. The thing I like about Abel Gideon is that you don't know if they're being genuine or not, or if they're just telling their truth, but you can understand that they're clever and intelligent because they were a doctor. Gideon is really hard for me to get a read on, and I'm not sure that they can get a read on themselves, you know? But we're clearly dealing with someone intelligent at the very least, even if also crazy. I do also appreciate the fact that his crimes seem kind of random in a way, because Will's like, why did you do it? And he was like, I wanted her to die. Duh. And also just another way to like, he refuses to really answer questions, which is a frustrating way to tell a story. We find out that Gideon messed with the body afterwards, where the Ripper kind of does it during, because it's ritualistic, whereas Gideon here is obviously copying. I love Will in those slutty little glasses. Okay, we are back at Hannibal's office in Baltimore. It looks like he is ready to leave for the day, and Jack is at his door. I appreciate that everyone kind of comes to Hannibal for their problems because he's a psychiatrist, and it's just like out of the frying pan into the fire. And Jack is like, I really need you to tell me what she's telling you, what my wife is telling you about in your sessions. And Hannibal's like, no, which is hilarious because we all know he's so ethical and so quick to follow his oath. You know, I was thinking about it, this shot especially. Mads Mikkelsen doesn't really have any eyebrows, and I think he does, but they're very light. But in this particular shot, you can't really see them. You can just see the definition of his brow bone, and I think that's part of the reason why he's such a good Hannibal, because of the lack of eyebrows, it kind of gives him that like skeletal, gaunt kind of look, and I mean that in the most respectful way, because like he's really hot. Please, Mads Mikkelsen is so hot, but in this shot especially, like, we do get that kind of skeleton vibe with this very defined, with the defined brow bones and defined cheek bones and jaw, but like there is not that much hair on the face. And the only thing Hannibal will tell Jack is that he doesn't think that his wife doesn't think that she married the wrong man. And we get this very, very vulnerable moment with Jack where he's crying to Hannibal, and it's, you know, Miriam Lass is a touchy subject for him and his wife. These are two women that he's feels like he's failed. And we're dealing with loss, and Hannibal, of course, is very intrigued. He always loves to see how people handle things like death, especially. And the crying, I imagine he doesn't much understand, but finds interesting anyway. The thing I love about Hannibal is how incredibly nosy he is. He's giving Jack this wonderful insight and listening and advice, and it's all because he is curious. And I think he genuinely cares about Jack to an extent. And it's, oh, who else couldn't you save other than Bella? Cut to Miriam Lass, and this is also, we cut to the scene, it's back in black and white, it's a memory, it's Jack showing the body of one of the Chesapeake Ripper's victims to Miriam. It looks like the Wound Man, I'll put it here. The Wound Man is in a really old drawing. It was in like a medical textbook. It was at the beginning. And it's this man with like all sort of ailments, right? He's got stabs, bites, burns, like everything, and he's alive, right? That's another important part of this painting or drawing is he's alive. And it was in medical textbooks, and he was basically like an index. Like you could be like, oh, I want to treat this rash, so I'll go to this page, and the picture, it's the rash is on the wound man. Then you go to the respective page and read how to treat it. So we see that the Ripper is creating this wound man, and we know that, you know, Hannibal likes to create art with his bodies. Wound man is important. But there's a scene like this in Silence of the Lambs with Jack and Clarice. So this is definitely a nod to that. We find out that this guy was awake, which is something that Hannibal has done before when he killed them. Organs were removed. So Hannibal being a surgeon makes a lot of sense with the way Miriam describes it. Psychopaths are often attracted to the medical field because of the feeling of power, control, God, and they can kind of do these procedures without having to have too much empathy. And, you know, that would work really well for Hannibal because he's not a psychopath. He can feel these emotions, but him being a surgeon has trained him to control that as well. Not sure that he's a white male, but something exotic about him. It's so interesting how much Miriam gets right immediately, which is also like a very nod to Clarice being just like smart and underestimated. And she's like, maybe you'll spot him before anyone else. And Jack's like, maybe you will. And she does. And then, you know, jump cut to Will and Jack in the shot. It's a nice transition to like, and now this is Jack's, not his like newest protege, but like this newest person he's working with and worried about. We find out that the nurse was stabbed in the same exact way that the Ripper did its second to last victim, assuming Miriam Lass was the last victim. They never found her. And Will says he sees the Ripper, but he doesn't feel the Ripper. And it's a copycat, another copycat. And Will's always been really, really good at identifying the copycats. And Will's like, you know, maybe he's real, maybe he's not, but I can guarantee you if it's not, the real Ripper is going to tell us. And Hannibal has a giant ego, and Will is not wrong. This next scene really confused me the first time I watched it. It's when Jack gets the call from Miriam Lass in the middle of the night at almost 3 a.m. I remember being so shocked by this reveal because I was like, it has to be a dream. She's dead, right? It has to be a dream. I watched it like 2 or 3 times and I was still really confused. Jack gets this voicemail from Miriam, and it almost sounds like a recording because she's not really responding to him, but you're not sure. That really, it shocked the shit out of me the first time I saw it. So good. So Beverly has checked all the phone records and nobody can figure out where this call came from. And Jack is very adamant that it happened. And Jimmy Price reveals that there are ways that this could have been done that were not traceable. And Zeller tries to push back and Crawford yells at him. I really love these moments where Jack is really angry. I really like being reminded of the power inside of Jack Crawford because he is strong and smart and will fuck your shit up. And, you know, as far as Will's concerned, this proves that Gideon did not do it. Jack thinks it's a recording. He's convinced Miriam Lass is dead. There is a very deliberate attempt here to not get his own hopes up, even though Will is like, is it possible she's alive? And he's like, nope, I'm not even going to entertain that, which is just bad police work, but that's because this is somebody he cares about. So like he is not using his most logical FBI man brain. Also, I didn't know this, but shout out to my friend CJ. They're worth following on TikTok. I will post their stuff right here. Hannibal and Will do not have any scenes with each other in this episode. Will is also definitely takes a back seat in this episode, which is something we have not really done up until this point. This is a very like Jack episode and Dr. Gideon. So yeah, check out CJ's TikTok. Post a lot of really good videos. They write really good fanfic and they love to analyze the series too. So follow them. And then Will is hallucinating the stag walking into his office. He's like clearly anxious and under some duress. And Alana's like, Dr. Bloom is like, you look like you were dreaming. Does this man look relaxed? To me, dreaming is like a very relaxed state. This is giving stress dream nightmare. Another terrible Dr. Bloom dress. I don't know if you guys are familiar. I'm in the States. on the East Coast with like the store Dress Barn. Dr. Bloom is just like fully being fitted by Dress Barn the whole first season. It's just like these little rayon dresses that you could definitely get at like Sears on sale. Like, she's just so basic and boring in this first, and safe in this first season, that it's just, the costuming is really good. I fucking hate these dresses though, but she's beautiful and rocking them. I just hate them in general. And Jack's like, we have this great idea. We're gonna use Freddie Lowndes to draw the Ripper out, and I'm sure it's not gonna backfire at all. And what I love about this, Will fucking hates this idea because he does not ever want to work with Freddie Lowndes, and I really appreciate his dedication to their rivalry. Another very similar Jack and Will dynamic is Jack's like, I have to do this. We have to try to lure him out. And Will is like, he could kill again because of this. And Jack's like, I don't care. I have to try for the greater good. And there's a lot of guilt with that from Will, as always. Oh, he's so mad that Jack wants to use Freddie Lowndes. He gets so angry. I love that willgraham refuses to fix his face ever. He is so bad at masking, where like Hannibal is really good at masking. If Will is mad, you're gonna see it on his face. He does not pretend to like Freddie. He does not pretend to be okay with this. Like, he physically cannot do it. He cannot bring himself to do it. And I love that man for it. And Freddie doesn't give a fuck in this little outfit. God, I love her so much. She goes to shake Will's hand in her little cunty little glove with the little fur trim, and he won't shake her hand because he is a petty bitch. My favorite thing about Freddie Lowndes, and she does a lot of things wrong, don't get me wrong, she is messy, she is a little psychopathic, like she is out for blood. I love that about her, but I really love the fact that Jack's like, how did you end up where you ended up? And she's like, what? Criminal journalism? Like, just because you say it's a tabloid doesn't mean I'm not telling the truth. I love when women do things in their own style, in their own way, that are against like the regular way, and they do it well and nobody can like say shit. Because they're trying to talk shit about her and she's like, I am a good journalist. Fuck you. You know? She is unethical though. But who isn't in this world? Jack is unethical. This is unethical. This whole plan to write this article. But Freddie, like a lot of other people in the Hanniverse, the power is like way too tempting. And she is an opportunist. Her and Chilton have that in common, the two Freddies. She's just more clever and he's an idiot. And Will's like, the thing we have going against us and you is that you and your journalism are like really obnoxious. More diva on diva crime. There's just so much like Will catfighting this episode, and I am a big fan of that. His face is so annoyed. Oh, he is such a brat. I love him for it though. This next bit of dialogue is so much fun because Dr. Bloom is like, yeah, certain personalities are attracted to certain professions, you know, doctors. And number 5 on the list is surgeons. And number 6 on the list is journalists. But number 7 on the list, law enforcement. They just keep like throwing bombs at each other. Ugh. And Will is gagged. He is silenced. She's like, we're all crazy. Nice try. You first, Mr. Graham. And he's so mad about it. I love the shot too of Freddie Lowndes walking into the Baltimore State Hospital. She's wearing this like very like long sleeve shirt, tight pants, little gloves. She's tiny. She is tiny, but she is walking with such a confidence that she fills the scene. The music, the Freddie music is always really good. She just doesn't give a fuck. She's wearing like this little leopard print top. She's a little nervous, but she carries herself tall and with such attitude. And I love her. And then I fucking love this episode. It pans down from the ceiling. Hannibal reading this article on his iPad, clearly so mad about this stupid fucking article. It's working beautifully. He can't resist it. He's so mad. There's so much gossipy diva shit in this episode. It's just magnificent from top to bottom. We find out that the FBI is reading Gideon's mail because we think that maybe the Ripper is talking to him, and that is why he's able to recreate these crimes. Questioning Gideon directly is just so useless. He refuses to answer anything straight on. It's very frustrating, but it is a great character trait to tell a frustrating story. Not reveal anything too soon. And we find out that Jack went to talk to Gideon about Miriam Lass, and Gideon recognizes the name. We don't know how, or if it was fed to him, if he did it himself. And Gideon is trying to say that he killed Miriam Lass, but offers no proof. And Jack's like, why didn't you put her on display? And Gideon's like, what makes you think I didn't? And then Jack gets a phone call. I love this shot of Jack leaving Gideon. This architecture is very Baltimore. I find it reflects really accurate. It feels like where I live. But he walks into this atrium and we see that he's getting the same recording call from Miriam Lass. So we tend to believe it's a recording at this point. And the call was coming from his house. We find out the Ripper has gone into Jack's house, laid in his bed. There's like a long blonde hair in there. There's a fingerprint on the phone. And it all points back to Miriam Lass. So the Ripper was in Jack's house, taunting him and being like, yeah, you put that stupid article out. I'm all up in your shit. So the Ripper realizes that Jack feels responsible for her death. And Will is like, did you send her after the Ripper? And he's like, no, I sent her after specific information. But she finds the Ripper with that specific information. Jack did not say, go to Hannibal. She figures it out on her own by illegally searching those medical records with Jack's permission. So Jack's involved in this decision, but Lass finds him. Lass finds Hannibal. And Jack gets mad at her because she is kind of unethically getting these medical records. But at the same time, he's like, I will get in more trouble if I do it, but maybe if you do it, you're an intern, you'll get in less trouble. So we find out that Jack encourages her to go poke around these medical records without a warrant, which is illegal. Dr. Bloom comes to the kind of realization that maybe Dr. Gideon was influenced into believing he's the Ripper because obviously he has a very malleable psyche, and maybe he was influenced somehow into believing that he's the Ripper. Okay, we're at Hannibal's house and we find out Chilton in this ugly ass camel suit. I hate this suit, but it's a very, very good Chilton suit. The hair is like really big. The beard is really bitchy. He is like pouring this decanter of wine into his glass with like, it's just quick and there's like no class to it. Great shot. The thing I love too about the Chilton design is that Raul Esparza was filming SVU at the same time, and Barba, his costuming is so different in comparison to Chilton's that the characters physically look different. Barba is very broad-chested and big and supposed to fill up the room and like intimidate, where Chilton is very coiffed and perfumed and has this tiny waist and silhouette that the characters feel so different even though they were shot at the same time, and goes, I think, very much into the importance of costuming a character. Anyway, so Hannibal is at dinner with Chilton and Dr. Bloom, and Chilton is just like thrilled that he's going to be able to analyze Gideon, and he refers to him as being in captivity, which is so fucking weird because he views them as zoo animals to be collected. Remember that. His ring, he's wearing this giant gaudy ass ring. Like every detail about him is just so fucking showy and gaudy. And then Hannibal comes out with these like tongues on plates. I read that Fuller said that these were actual goat or lamb tongues, but this was supposed to be kind of a foreshadowing of like Chilton's fate because he's such a bitchy little yapper. It was a particularly chatty lamb, Hannibal says. The famous joke about Hannibal being like, maybe I'll eat your tongue, Frederick. And then he says the line, it's nice to have an old friend for dinner, which I believe is in the books and the movies. But he is not eating a person here, according to Bryanfuller. A nice symmetrical shot of the dinner table. Something also really important to note about Chilton that I heard in an interview is that he doesn't speak in contractions. So I think that's why, paired with the Southern accent, all of his sentences feel very drawn out, because we are not making any effort to make them more compact or concise. So Dr. Bloom, Dr. Chilton, and Dr. Lecter are talking about Abel Gideon and whether or not Frederick could have accidentally influenced him into believing he was the Ripper. And it's revealed that Chilton was maybe giving Gideon more details of the crimes, as he further suspected that he might be the Ripper himself. So it's very likely that Chilton accidentally, because he's not smart enough to actually manipulate somebody, convinced him, Abel Gideon, that he was the Ripper. But Hannibal throws out this little bit where he's like, yeah, I think coercion like that is ethical in certain circumstances. With this interesting circular logic of what if he is? Maybe it helped him realize he was. I don't think so, Hannibal, but okay. But he's planting the seed in Frederick's head that maybe that's what he did on purpose. And then Chilton is like, if I did do that, if I did accidentally manipulate him, Dr. Bloom, can you please help me figure it out? But before he can continue, Hannibal's like, oh, why don't you come help me with dessert? Because he realizes, shit, I don't want them to stray from Gideon. I want them to keep thinking that he's the guilty one and not someone else like me. Hannibal is showing Chilton these little grapes that are, the flesh is the same color as the skin because they have nothing to hide. And Chilton gets it very correct. A grape with nothing to hide is what he says. I love when we get these little Chiltonisms that are just spot on, even if maybe a little off or like he doesn't understand the context. And Hannibal reveals, hey, I'm cool with unethical psychiatry, unlike Dr. Bloom. So you can always tell me your secrets. And he's well respected, so people respond to that. He's like, I love the unorthodox. We know. We remember you giving Abigail shrooms and trip-sitting her for the plot. And Chilton is considering this because he is an opportunist as well, and he can be a little impulsive, I think. Because he's so power hungry, he lets it blind him. And then we find out Jack keeps getting calls from Miriam Lass. I love this next shot at the conservatory or whatever it's called, because it has one of the like the funniest bloopers. Like, I shouldn't laugh. Like, the camera just, I'm gonna play it, but the camera just like crashes and you can hear the guy like getting hurt. Oh, it's not funny, but it's a little funny. I'm gonna play it.
To Jack's cell from a disposable phone traced here, or would.
I love when Beverly and Will connect because they have the same posture when they're walking. They are equals. They are friends. She is one of the few people that respects him and treats him like a human being. We find out the Ripper is continuing to call Jack with the Miriam voice, and he leaves a phone number this time. And remember, the Ripper does anything. It's always intentional. It's never by accident. He wants Jack to call that number, and we find out, oh shit, it's in the conservatory. Is Miriam going to be in there? Is she going to be dead or alive? Or neither? And we see this hand with the blackberry in it on the conservatory like table thing, and it's severed. And we're to assume it's Miriam Lass's hand. And it's been 2 years. It's been 2 years. The first time I saw this, again, I rewatched it like 2 or 3 times because I was like, huh? And so the hand has clearly been preserved, and we still don't know if she's dead or alive. But a piece of her has been found with a card with a note on it that says, what do you see? Smash cut to Jack and Hannibal sitting by a fire. Very dramatic, very cozy, talking about Miriam Lass's hand being found and is she alive or not? It's crazy that he goes to Hannibal for advice when he's the one that did it. And Jack thinks that it's being revealed to him this way to give him false hope and to have him misstep. And Hannibal's like, don't give up hope for your wife. Maybe not Miriam Lass. And they discuss taking control over situations, which is interesting because Jack's like, I can't control my wife dying. I can't control how she feels. And he's like, take some control. Hannibal's like, take control. And it's like very interesting coming from Hannibal, who doesn't really respect death always. I think he thinks he respects it, but there is definitely like a flagrant abuse of its understanding and respect for it. So telling Jack to take control makes sense because Hannibal doesn't believe that there are restraints on the way we handle things like that, where like Jack does. And Hannibal apologizes to Jack about his trainee, which is interesting because it's like, is he apologizing that Jack is just a pawn in this game now? Because I think part of him likes Jack, but he also enjoys playing with him. I think that Hannibal feels a lot of things simultaneously. Regret not being one of them, though. And then we show Miriam showing up to, we're back to a flashback. Miriam showing up to Hannibal's office. It's in black and white. And you're like, she figured it out. She tracked the records of former patients and the victims of the Ripper and was able to trace something back to Hannibal. I do think it's interesting. She's like, it's this guy's name. You saw him in the ER. He fell out of a tree blind. Like, Hannibal worked at the ER at Johns Hopkins. The chances of him remembering something like that, 0, in my opinion. And then Hannibal's like, I have diaries, I have journals, very Rory Gilmore of him. He's like, let me go get them and I can see and help. It's interesting that one of his victims suffered an arrow wound through the leg because remember Wound Man? It's kind of the perfect jumping off point for Wound Man. It is obvious that Miriam doesn't necessarily suspect he's the Ripper just yet because she's like, this was a long shot. She was following a lead and just happened to stumble upon Hannibal. So even at this point, she's not like, oh, it's him. It's like, oh, she found a lead that we know as the audience is legitimate. And he's like, let me go get my journals. And while he goes to get his journals, Miriam is like looking around his office, not touching anything, but just looking, which is what a good cop does, by the way. And then she comes across a picture of the Wound Man. And because she's smart and she's Clarice adjacent, she connects the dots. I do love that there's a book on Hannibal's bookshelf that's just titled Drugs. Oh, and you see Hannibal coming down the ladder, Wound Man. And then she realizes, and we realize, we are shown that Hannibal is the one that takes Miriam less. It's interesting the way he chokes people. We see it a couple times. It's almost very loving. And he like pretty much kisses the top of her head. I think that is a very accurate insight into Hannibal because he does, I think, see something very loving about death. It's not grotesque to him. So in these moments, it's motherly almost. There's a gentleness there, which is so jarring and odd. And we end the episode with Jack and Hannibal talking about Miriam Lass by the fire. I really love that episode. I love it for so many reasons. Obviously, we love Chilton. We love this introduction to this character. I love having Dr. Gideon. He is a great foil for Hannibal. Freddie and willgraham working together against his will, pretty much. It's just, there's a lot of humor in this episode and a lot of really good plot, and we are finally jumping into the main meat of the story, where before it was kind of procedural, and now we are in the Gideon arc of it all, which is getting us closer to the Ripper. This has been my favorite episode so far to watch on the podcast with you guys. I was watching it before I started today just to refresh my memory, so I wasn't just doing it completely off the cuff. This is, I think, where we start to get into the real essence of the show, where the first 5 episodes we were learning characters and how they interacted with the world, and now we're to apply that knowledge to the story of the Ripper and Hannibal. So really excited to keep doing this with you guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all of my platforms. Feel free to ask me questions and engage. I believe on my Buzzsprout account, you can send me text messages. So if you want to send me a text, do so on the Buzzsprout account, which is in my link tree. Really excited to continue to dive into this more. I would like to have guests on. I'm still kind of working that out in my head. So bear with me. I want to make sure it's perfect and all the equipment is good, because at this, like, for real, I'm just like a girl with a ring light, a tripod, and a dream. You know, so, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.